have a quorum, and I'd like to get a motion for approval of the minutes of last meeting.
Next week.
I don't
None.
think we have any minutes.
We do not, apparently. All right, so moving on. Thank God for no quasi deschal. Go by like the acronym. I know. I don't point at that. I understand. Hooked on phonics. There it is. All right, so we're moving on to new business. Listen, you only got me for a couple more months, and then I'm out. NPH-1 comprehensive plan. Rick, did you really want to move this to the end?
No.
I'm disrespecting our time.
They
All
probably
right.
wouldn't speak to us again.
Well, they have to. All right, comprehensive plan amendment 24-23, Three Lakes Golf Club. And requested by Lucido and Associates on behalf of Three Lakes Golf Club LLC for a text amendment to the Martin County Growth Management Plan, amending the text of the rural lifestyle future land use designation to change the number of bedrooms permitted with the golf cottage. So I will turn it over to staff, which appears to be flat. Oh, you can't hear me.
Thank you,
Sorry.
and good evening.
Good evening.
This is a very short
Good evening.
piece of text that's being proposed for change. As you may know, the Rural Lifestyle Future Land Use Designation was created in September 13, 2022, and was amended in 2024. It is applicable to either properties with a minimum of 1,000 acres or a minimum of 3,000 acres. Currently, the Rural Lifestyle Future Land Use Designation allows a maximum of 54 golf cottages and 6 bedrooms per cottage for a maximum of 324 bedrooms. The proposed text change that the applicant has made, I'm scrolling through the text that's not changing so that I can get to the part that is proposed for change. All of this that I'm scrolling through is not proposed for change. The applicant's proposed change would change the number of bedrooms from 2 to 12 permitted per golf cottage, but it would not change the number of, or the maximum number of cottages, and it would not change the maximum number of bedrooms associated with a project. And so we see it as having no effective change in the impacts on the public facilities and on the community. And we see it as having no effective change on the surrounding properties because these will all be located within properties that are at least 1,000 acres in size. So with that, I'll finish the presentation and say staff recommends approval of this proposed text change.
Gentlemen, you have any questions?
I do.
Gentlemen?
Our OSTDS is still permitted on rural land use amendment developments?
It is an option, but the applicants all have the ability to do extend water, receive water and sewer service also.
Is it staff's belief that a 12-bedroom development could handle or could be treated with an OSTDS?
Currently, you have some pretty large houses out there in Palm City Farms and such, which are on septic systems. Although I agree, staff would very much prefer that all of these be on sewer.
The Three Lakes was originally proposed and approved not on sewer, but on septic tank.
It's always had the option of having water and sewer. This land use designation, as proposed from the beginning, has always had the ability to get water and sewer. That was one of the main things that was included in the proposed initial amendment.
Well, Three Lakes was originally approved not as a rural land use amendment.
Three Lakes, the original site plans were approved under the agricultural future land use designation. Yes, that's correct.
Right, I appreciate it.
Any other questions? Bob, I know you just came in. The question I had was that the number of bedrooms was not increased. It's still going to be 324 bedrooms.
Correct.
So one cottage could have 12, the other could have 2.
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm just trying to understand because it was a little ambiguous, and the language here, understanding that. Any other questions, Rick? Jim?
Okay, for the record, my name is Morris Crady here on behalf of the applicant.
Well, I didn't ask you to come
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry. Whenever
Yeah.
you're ready.
Morris Crady, yeah. You
Okay,
can
am I
come
ready?
on up to the podium. I'm just kidding, giving you a hard time.
Just to respond to you, Jim, the original project was approved on well and septic, but that severely limits what you can do on the property. Even so, in my opinion, you couldn't build this project on well and septic. And I think if you're adjacent to the urban service district, you almost have to connect, and we are connected. So we have extended the water and sewer to the project at Three Lakes. And this request came up again. We're not changing the number of golf cottages allowed or the maximum number of bedrooms that are allowed, but they have been successful in their membership drive, and what they're learning from the members is that there's some members that want to have a quaint 2-bedroom cottage, and there's some corporate members that want to host a corporate retreat where they get up to 12 bedrooms. So that range is 2 to 12 bedrooms, and the effect is it could result in less buildings if you get to the maximum number of bedrooms, if we're building. But right now, we just don't want to be stuck with building 54 6-bedroom units because it doesn't respond to the needs of the membership, and our request doesn't increase the intensity of use or otherwise change the original intent of having golf cottages in this particular under rural lifestyle. Okay.
Gentlemen, any questions for our applicant? Yes.
So Elise Elder, Deputy County Attorney. Just for clarification purposes, this is a text amendment to the future land use designation. This isn't just not applicable to Three Lakes, it's applicable to any rural lifestyle. I just want to clarify that for the record, because they're talking about Three Lakes in particular, and that's not really what this is about.
I read it. Yep, okay.
No?
Okay, questions?
No, I didn't. I was an observation.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No further questions.
Okay.
There are members of the public, it looks like.
Yeah, no, of course. We'll move on to public comment at this time. I don't have any pieces of paper in front of me. Sir? Ice Cream Man, I'm pretty sure you have a different name than that. We'll go with that. Not to be disrespectful. Give me just a minute, and then,
Yes, ma'am. My name is Gary Erler. I'm a resident of Martin County, actually Port Salerno. My question, I guess, is I will direct this to the board and not staff, but as long as the golf cottages don't exceed the maximum size in square footage, they're getting smaller 12 bedrooms. 54 is 54, no matter how you cut it. I mean, I can't see 12 bedrooms. One's 2, one's 12. As long as, I believe, I looked through it and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but we're basically looking like bungalows. And my next question is, does the site plan call for a Wawa yet? And then I also just wanted to make the statement, Sarah's head's going to pop when she sees this. Thank you.
okay. We have another public comment, sir? Bruce? Bruce? As much as I can't even pronounce Quasi-Jajal, I can't pronounce your last name as well. So please
Yeah,
introduce
Bruce
yourself.
Montesco from
Thank
Hopestown,
you.
Martin County resident, long-term Martin County resident. I'm a little bit confused on this. Why would they go to 12 cottages per house? I don't understand the concept of this whole thing. Why would they go, okay, from 2 to 12? Are they only considering bedrooms, or are they actually considering freestanding buildings? So is one lot going to be able to have 12 additional buildings? Is that what's being stated here? I'm not quite sure how this is coming across here. Can anybody answer that question?
I can't answer that right when you have your public comment, so continue your thought process and we can answer.
Yeah, well,
afterwards.
well, that's my public comment, is it's very confusing because we don't know what we're dealing with here, if we're going to sit there and go, talk about bedrooms within a specific house, or are we talking about individual buildings? So if it's individual buildings, why would you even consider putting 12 buildings on one lot versus having smaller ones on the other lot? I don't understand the benefit of that. So my public comment is, I can't be comfortable with something I can't understand. So I'll let you guys try to explain it, and if you can't explain it, well, it is what it is, I guess.
We'll get the applicant to,
Pardon?
we'll get the applicant to
Right, and yeah,
clarify that, but look at it this way, you got that many bathrooms,
Yeah,
bedrooms, and bathrooms, and that's all you're allowed to have, so it doesn't matter whether you have, if you have 2 cottages and you got 2 bedrooms, now you're gonna have 1 cottage with 4 bedrooms, or you're gonna have 1 cottage with 12 bedrooms, but you're gonna have the same number of bathrooms. So it doesn't matter. I mean, like Morris said, the applicant said, is that you're going to have less buildings. The more bedrooms you put in there, the less buildings you're going to have.
the less buildings that you're going to have, but you're still going to have the commensurate number of bathrooms
Correct.
per resident.
Madam
Correct.
Chair.
yes, we got it.
Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director, for the record. I'm not sure this is on. But, so I'll try to help. So there's a maximum of 54 golf cottages, 6 bedrooms each. The applicant is proposing to have flexibility, not exceeding the 54 golf cottages, but simply having one building that maybe, first of all, there's no lots here, and this is a private development, so there's no conveyance of property. The golf cottages are accessory to the golf course. So there's not, I don't even need to go there, but that's the end of that. The buildings will be as flexible. The applicant is proposing the flexibility to have one building that may be 2 bedrooms, one building that may be 4 bedrooms, one building that may be, in fact, 12 bedrooms. But all of that is in the equation of 54 total cottages with a maximum of 6 bedrooms each. So in this case,
Maximum of 324 bedrooms
324
total.
Yes, right,
Correct.
which I
How
mentioned
many
earlier.
bathrooms total gross do you have? Is there any change in the number of bathrooms between all of
the
this?
bathrooms aren't part of the
Your-
equation.
Time is up, but I understand your question, sir, and I will respect that, and we will bring the applicant back up to ask those questions. Mr. Morris Crady, can I ask you to come up, sir?
This isn't working.
Again, Morris Crady for the record. I think you did explain it. It's bedrooms, not buildings. So we're just adding more bedrooms to the existing number of buildings that are allowed. And just to be clear, not every rural lifestyle project is allowed 54 buildings. It's only because we have 3 golf courses that we have 54 buildings and up to 300 in our case. But the actual policy is that you can have up to 18 or one cottage per hole, or 18 cottages per golf course. So and there's only one other rural lifestyle project, or at least there's a couple of other, but there's only one other under construction, and they're not proposing any cottages because they have a residential product. We don't have a residential product, and again, these aren't cottages that are on lots. They're not for sale. They're part of the operation of the golf club.
They're an amenity.
They're an amenity, right, an accessory to the golf club, yeah. So.
Any other questions? Jim?
Well, I mean, I guess it does beg the question when we're talking about bedrooms. Are we talking about bathrooms or are we talking about bedrooms?
No, oh, sorry. I didn't answer.
Most of these cottages, each bedroom has their own bathroom.
I assumed as much,
right.
but
So
there are
it's
also
like a
other
master
bathrooms associated with an establishment.
Right. And again, we haven't designed the 12-bedroom unit yet, but there may be shared bathrooms in there because that's going to be set up more like for a group, whether it be a corporate retreat or they may have a sports team come down that want to stay all in one building versus spread out over, smaller buildings. And really, we're actually limiting the height to 2 stories. Right now, there is no height limitation. So, but all we're doing is putting 1/6 six-bedroom cottage on the top of another six-bedroom cottage versus spreading them out. So but it's all the same in terms of total numbers of buildings and total numbers of bedrooms allowed, so. Okay?
Dennis, sir, did that answer your question?
To a point, still doesn't come down to how many, there's X number of bedrooms consolidated, I understand that point. Didn't understand how the breakdown of the bathrooms is gonna be, trying to locate all the bathrooms all in one giant building.
Understood.
Madam Chair, there is no code provision that limits the amount of bathrooms in these buildings. The code provides for a maximum currently of 6 bedrooms per cottage with a maximum of 54, which is 1 per hole, in this case, 3 18-hole courses. There is not now, nor has there been, a limitation on bathrooms in golf cottages and in fact in residences. So there's not a limitation on the bathrooms. What you may be thinking of at times is there's a limitation on if it was on a septic system to the amount of flow and so forth, but there's not a limitation on a facility with respect to bathrooms that are connected to the Martin County sewer system. That maybe helps.
And I apologize. I brought up bathrooms, and I misspoke. I apologize.
Got it. Gentlemen?
I don't see any more members of the public.
No? Okay, any other further comments on the issue?
Well, yeah, I mean, I am really
Board?
shocked at how many times rural land use amendment has to be amended in order to make it reasonable for the developers. Every couple of months, we have a pretty dramatic change in the way the rural land use amendment is going to be used or changed in order to make it work for particular developers. I think that doubling down on a bad idea doesn't make it a good idea. That's my opinion.
Okay,
In my opinion, we're not changing anything.
You are.
We're got the same number of bedrooms, the same
But you're
number of
opening-
people,
wait, hold on.
and same number of everything. You're not changing any intensity or density. It's the same, it's just the same thing.
Okay.
It-
Bob, of course.
It's the same thing for this project, but it's going to change for the future so that I could come in and leapfrog with a different development. Is that what you said? That
I'm just saying that this amendment will be applicable to all rural lifestyle projects. So if one of the other ones wanted to change a golf cottage configuration and have 7 bedrooms in one and 2 in the other, they would be able to do it. It's not just for Three Lakes, is the only thing I wanted to say. But it's the same bedrooms.
But it's under the development, I think I heard, it's 1 cottage per hole.
Correct. Everything else is the same,
Everything
but
else is the same.
it's not just applicable to Three Lakes, because they were talking a lot about the Three Lakes project, so I just wanted to clarify that. It's
So
a-
if they took this to another one that came in, the intensity and the density is going to stay the same.
Yes, it's the
So
same.
it's really not changing anything there.
It's not changing the number of bedrooms,
Just the
correct?
configuration is whether you have, how many buildings? 54? 54
Yes.
buildings? Or you have 6 buildings?
Correct.
It's the same number of bedrooms, it's the same number of everything. Does it matter whether it's a 2-story or a single-story? It doesn't matter.
Correct. It's the same.
And so if you, in my opinion, if you can consolidate them down to a smaller footprint, a smaller impervious area for the environment, that would be a good thing, and especially if they go 2 stories. Your imprint, your footprint is going to be less. So is it changing anything? You got the same number of bedrooms, the same number of intensity, and you can squeeze them into a smaller space. I'm good with that.
Bob, do you have any other questions?
we used to rent a cottage on Cape Cod. I never saw a 12-bedroom cottage.
Well, you never went to a cottage that was costing this amount of money.
Okay, any other additional comments we have from staff? I'm sorry, gentlemen. All right, personally reading through this, hearing the intensity of the utilities, that's always one of our utmost concerns. with the environment and things that in general. I'm with Rick on, consolidating and not using a, environmental friendly footprint and things in general. So with that being said, either make a motion to move or,
I'll make a motion to vote on
okay?
To approve or
it.
to,
Approve.
I won't be seconding that.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
I'm opposed.
Okay. Aye, it passes 3-1. Okay,
Thank you.
gentlemen, thank you for your time.
They limited themselves to 2 stories throughout the whole rural land use amendment.
All right, we are moving on to NPH-2, Comprehensive Plan Amendment 24-10, Sanitary Sewer Systems Element. I'm going to hand it over to Sam. You don't look like Paul, but I'm going to give it over to you.
Is that whose
Sorry, it
name
just
is
says Paul.
Well, I'm Samantha Lovelady, Principal Planner with Growth Management. I have here Leo Rapetti he's the Technical Services Administrator from the Utilities Department. And most of the changes that we have done in this chapter are, they've been placed in there in response to a bill that passed. It's HB 1379. And other information is updated or deleted that is no longer relevant, and updated some tables to new local conditions. Also, there are exceptions in chapters 10 and 11 for, to receive water and sewer services. And we've added we've added to an exception a second policy, and it's a Martin County utility parcel that the county owns it, and they want it to be part of the landfill property. So I have Leo here if you would like to go through specific changes in the chapter, like say, for instance, this is being deleted because it talks about from 1982 to 2014. It's not relevant anymore.
Can we, while we're on that paragraph,
Sure.
go back to the last item that we've faced? We're talking about OSDSs and the capacity for an OSDS considerably outside of the urban service boundary or district. What is, because we've got the sewer authority here, what is the capacity for a current OSDS? Would it be able to handle a 12-bedroom house?
Again, Leo Rapetti with Martin County Utilities. Martin County Utilities does not permit septic systems. That's done through the Health Department. And my understanding with the rules for permitting septic systems, for each bedroom you add, you have to increase the size of the tank and the drain field. I do not know if you could do a 12-bedroom house on a septic tank or not. There's limits to how many gallons per day are permitted with those flows. I mean, we can look up that information and find out, but
It's also based on square footage, not necessarily bedrooms anymore.
It'd also be just based on the soil type that you're putting that on and what kind of perk you could get and how that would work.
these are all very good points, and why I don't permit the septic systems in the health departments. They're the experts in this.
That's why the state does it.
Even then. Jim?
Well, we're going to probably get to it, but has the priorities of where you extend water and sewer, or sewer in particular, into the county changed at all? Are those areas that are within the primary urban service district and on the shores of the St. Lucie or the Loxahatchee rivers still higher priorities than elsewhere within the county for converting to sanitary sewer?
That's a good question. Martin County engaged in a study, comprehensive study of where the septic systems are and identified 24 areas where they felt there were priorities. And it wasn't just whether it was in a CRA or if it was on the shoreline. It had to do with the density of the communities, whether they had central drainage, proximity to the waterways. There were a whole bunch of criteria that we went through, and we ranked all these communities, and then slowly we've been chipping away at these properties. One of our programs, our Grinder Sewer program, has made sewer available for 2,500 homes in the last 5 years, and the majority of those homes are within a quarter mile of the North Fork, South Fork, or the St. Lucie River Estuary, Indian River Lagoon. So we've been following that report, working our way through the various communities, and all of our septic to sewer projects are for projects that are currently served by Martin County Utilities where there is service availability.
So I guess my question is there is clearly a priority list. Is there a priority of whose services you are going to extend first? I mean, I guess my question is, there are proposals to extend water and sewer well outside of the urban services boundary now. Are we prioritizing those high-priority neighborhoods that are on your list over those developments that are well outside of the urban service boundary?
So Martin County Utilities is not funding the extension of utilities to folks like out at the Three Lakes facility. That is completely 100% developer-driven. We're prioritizing with our funding and grants and assistance with Public Works and the CRA to do projects in the kind of core areas that are closer to the waters.
Okay, so if we're talking about higher priorities for those utilities that are in freestanding urban service districts currently, are they being served with sewage treatment on a higher priority than those neighborhoods that are on the high priority list?
Now, if these other neighborhoods you're speaking about are developer-driven, so developers are paying for the cost of those extensions, not
Including the Martin County ones?
I'm sorry,
Including the Martin County ones?
which one
Like
is
the one next to the transfer station and also the one?
that is part of an assessment. Martin County Utilities and Solid Waste Transfer Facility, along with 7J's industrial area and also the Martindale Commons mixed use. Well, not mixed use. It's a commercial. retail.
Isn't some of that brought on by a lawsuit once we outlawed package plants and they took the package plants away from those people? I think, if I remember right correctly, with the lawsuit that they filed, I think that we had to let them have water and sewer.
And
Oh, that's you, Ms.
I'd have to
Lawyer.
defer to Elise for that.
Okay. If you remember right, there was one of the commissioners not too long ago that cost us $22 million in one lawsuit, and then when they pulled the package plants away, some of the developers or some of the people, property owners, sued the county and got the right to put water and sewer there, and so the county is required. If I remember right, Paul, do you remember what I'm talking about?
They're allowed to have a package plant, but the county was not required to extend those utilities to them.
Well, they took the package plant away.
They
outlawed the package plant.
They were allowed to have a package plant, I believe.
7J's had a package plant.
7J's.
Yeah, and they had to take it away. So now they got water and sewer going there, and then also that they are paying for some of it, if I remember right.
Yes, they're paying their proportionate share
Yeah.
of the cost for the extension of those mains.
But the reason we're having to run it out there is because package plants were outlawed.
No, the package plants were,
The transient, if I'll try. The transient services areas around the four corners were eliminated at some point. And there was a pre-existing PUD known as Martindale Commons, I believe, which is a commercial component that has approvals through a PUD for various square footages of commercial and so forth on lots. That project, I believe to some extent that there was litigation involved in that project, and it does provide for the availability to hook up to water and sewer should it be And I think that's privately funded, like you said.
Right, if, through the
And
assessment.
the
So
encouraging part is that I live just across the street, and as soon as I see that sewer pipe go in front of Stewart West,
Yes.
I'm gonna be in front of you saying, I want water and sewer in Stewart West.
So I think we need to circle back to the agenda that's in front of us at the moment, the item. Any other additional questions at this point?
I just wanted to point out the 9-acre parcel. The parcel lines are not being shown because our GIS system is being updated right now. So the parcel lines aren't showing, but it's roughly this rectangle here.
Okay,
it was formerly a facility owned by Waste Management that Martin County Utilities had purchased recently.
okay. So continue to go through your updates there, please.
Is there anything else you wanted to point out? See, like, for instance, Table -1, the figures have been updated. As with Table -10, 10-2. And then I don't believe there's much in the way of goals, objectives, and policies. This is the parcel number that gets attached to the landfill that was already in its section, and this just adds the 9 acres to it.
Okay.
And this table is updated.
And the change we made here is that we went from 100 gallons per day per capita per person for level of service to 195 gallons per day per ERC. An ERC is an equivalent residential connection. A single-family home would be considered an equivalent residential connection. And in the utility world, it makes sense to talk about, is this commercial project or industrial project or retail project of sorts equivalent to, is it 10 homes, water and wastewater? Is it 20 homes? Is it 50 homes? ERCs. So the non-residential level of service, that 0.1 gallons per day per square foot, purely covers commercial. It doesn't cover office. It doesn't cover warehouse. It doesn't cover restaurant. So instead of trying to list all of the components here, we use the 195 gallons per day per ERC to cover all uses within a county, and that number comes from our ongoing master plan update. That's what we use for our long-term predictions for our utility department. So we do it in gallons per day per ERC, not gallons per day per capita.
Can I ask a question about what level of treatment the wastewater is coming from that for reuse water? Is it a high level of denitrification in that reuse water, or is it, and I'm not sure whether that's a potable water question or whether that's a sewage utility question, but my question is, what level of denitrification, what level of treatment is the reuse water coming from the utility plant?
I don't have an exact nitrogen or phosphorus number for you, but they do meet the state requirements for use in reclaimed water for things like recreational fields and golf courses and for landscape irrigation. So we meet all of those rules.
And does the county have any regulation or stipulation about proximity to water bodies and/or what level of groundwater pollution that might be causing?
DEP does have rules that require not putting reclaimed water into facilities that have outfalls to waters of the state. So if you had a pond that was isolated, a golf course that was isolated, had no outfall, you could put reclaimed water to that facility. But if that pond system, drainage system, had outfalls that connected to one of our outstanding Florida waters, the St. Lucie River or any river lagoon or any other waterways, they would not be able to receive reclaimed water.
Would that include the St. Lucie Canal?
Yes.
Yes, any waterways.
Appreciate it.
Shaking his head. Okay, continue, Sam, thank you.
And like, this is some of the cleanup that we're talking about, updating, the terminology for Indian Town since they incorporated. And I don't think there's much more in, except for adding, do you want to talk about that?
Can you go back to that last underlined paragraph? I think I may have just seen it strike through and thought it was underlined.
Well, any state statute reference that was wrong, we updated the citation on that, so you might see some strike through and underline
Are they,
on those things.
utility? And-
Yeah, for instance, this is Indiantown Utility, talks about being investor-owned, it's now a municipal utility, so we struck through that and corrected it and changed from 5 government-owned to 6 government-owned sewage facilities, treatment systems.
Good.
Yep.
See, none of this is, so this policy is being deleted because it's outdated.
Yes, the study's been completed, we did our, and the $280,000 study that we talked about, referred to as the CapTech report. CapTech had done an analysis of these communities, so it says here, we shall complete it, that's been completed, it's been implemented, and we're well into 5+ years into implementation of pushing that study forward.
Understood.
So do we have a complete understanding of what 1379 actually says?
Yeah, we do. So essentially, there's rules, and we added a goal at the very end of this to address that. And we looked at what Palm Beach County was doing. They have 7 different wastewater utilities that operate under their umbrella, and they did a complete analysis of what this, the companion House Bill, Senate Bill meant to this, and we modeled our response to after their response. The one thing we want to be careful in doing, and the same thing Palm Beach County was careful not doing, was that we didn't want to take the entire, I guess there's a chapter in the statutes now, which references a House Bill, Senate Bill. We didn't want to cut and paste and copy all of the detail into our comp plan, so that, we don't change our comp plan every year, just like, these House Bill, Senate Bills come up annually. So we didn't want to have language that was going to be outdated 1 year after it. So we do make reference to it, and we talk about the feasibility of connecting, and also what our capacity is. So where could we connect? We have 2 wastewater facilities. We have our projected flows for those wastewater facilities, and then we also have the other thing that we look at is, the other thing that the rules required is how would those utilities be extended to serve those areas? And since anything, a community with 50 residential lots, we don't have anything like that in Martin County Utility Service Area that we, extend utilities to, they would be required, any developer would be required to extend utility lines at their cost, as is in other locations of our comp plan and our land development regulations. So just like the Three Lakes project, since we're talking about them tonight, our rules require them to, on their own nickel, to extend utility lines to serve their project. So that meets the requirements of the House Bill, Senate Bill.
Can you meet those increasing requirements to achieve those high levels of treatment? Or do you have to reduce the level of treatment as capacity is approached?
No, we don't reduce level of treatment. We have a unified approach. The beauty about our plants is that they're scalable. If you reach a certain level and you add another treatment train to it, so it's not like we just run out of capacity and we can't move forward. We can continually add capacity as it's needed, and we overbuild our plants so that as septic sewer projects come along and houses are built in infill areas, we have capacity at the plants so that those homes can be connected. If you're a utility with limited septic, with limited sewage treatment capacity, you wouldn't engage on a septic to sewer program like we have, because it would force you to build infrastructure in order to achieve that goal.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
And with that, we have gone through the chapter. And so if you have any more questions, staff recommends approval to the Board of County Commissioners.
Any other additional questions?
I'd move it forward to the, well, I guess we might want to ask public if they've got any.
I don't have any I don't have this based on the item, so. That being said, there's no applicant, which is the county, no public comment.
I'd
And-
move for staff's recommendation for approval.
No
Okay.
second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. It is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you, Leo.
Samantha. I apologize. I said Sam. I like Nick.
That's okay. You know, I'm the youngest of 6 kids. I answer to anything.
I'm the youngest of 5, so it's all good. It's all good. All right, so you're going to stay up there in the seat there. We're moving on to NPH-3, Comprehensive Plan Amendment 24-11, Potable Water Services Element. Ms. Samantha, take the floor.
Again, my name is Samantha Lovelady, for the record, with Growth Management, and I'm going to be joined by Ann Murray. She's the county hydrogeologist with the Utilities and Solid Waste.
Good evening.
That's a solid title. Yep.
And again, a lot of this was housekeeping in terms of updating things like Indian Town, and we revised some planning periods. State statute has changed the planning periods for comprehensive plans. So we updated planning periods throughout this chapter. The planning period for the Upper East Coast Water Supply Plan, that will remain intact. That gets updated every 5 years. And so all the statistics and everything in there are brought into the chapter directly from the Upper East Coast Water Supply Plan. They'll start planning a new water supply plan, an update to the water supply plan, probably in 2 years? Correct. And so we'll be looking at that again. So those time periods for that section remain, but all other planning periods will change. Again, we're adding that 9.5 acre parcel owned by the county to the list of exceptions to receive water and sewer. We're making revisions to 11.1 and 11.2. And minor revisions to policy 11.4B to recognize changes in conditions. And let's see. For instance, if you look at these citations to state statute, some of these have been updated because when there's legislation, things get renumbered, so.
Understood.
And here again is the 20-year planning period that's required by state statute now. This is part of the Upper East Coast Water Supply Plan information, so that's staying the same. You can see the references there. This stays the same. This stays the same. All of these stay the same, don't
I
they?
feel like we were just here, as a matter of fact.
We just really did the Upper East Coast Water Supply Plan. Just, it feels like yesterday.
Yes, and we'll be back again tomorrow.
Right.
Get ready, Ann. We got lots of questions for you.
I do have a couple questions. about
I know, but we got to let her
Fire away.
go. Hit
So
it.
what testing are you doing for forever chemicals? And how close to extraction wells are we thinking about some of those pollution potential sources? Fire stations have been demonstrated to be one of those. Do we know, and I know this is City of Stewart rather than Martin County, but does the airport well, is that cleaned up? Do we know what levels around the county we have for PFAS and some of the other forever chemicals that are becoming concernful?
First of all, I want to assure you that Martin County Utilities water is safe, that we meet all standards, and we've been monitoring. So we do that as part of,
Bring it in, Ann, bring it in.
bring it in.
Are we at, 2 parts per trillion, or are we someplace?
I just want to say that we're meeting the standards at this point. I'm not going to,
You don't know.
well, I do know. We're meeting the standards at the point of entry into our distribution system. We have done testing through a consultant. We've been monitoring not only our assets at the water treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant components, but also we're starting work at our, a continuation of work at our assets in the field. In other words, our wells. So, yes, to answer your question, our stipulation is that we meet drinking water standards at the point of entry into our system, and we are meeting those standards.
Okay. Have we identified any hotspots that are concernful?
You know, because these constituents are omnipresent, they are ubiquitous, they are playing in the background of our water system, of our groundwater system. And much of the time, they don't have any source. They're just there. So we are in a new effort that we are embarking on in October. We'll be looking, well, we actually did an evaluation of obvious source water as part of a preliminary to this work. And we haven't identified anything that is stand out, at this point. We do know there's connection to septic tanks. We do know there's connection to AFFF foam. And we're trying to put those pieces together to understand it better. But I could tell you it's playing in the background, and nothing is standing out as a particular asset that is concerning at this point. Also, I want to point out that the reason why we have such a good treatment system is because we depend very heavily on RO treatment, and that is that membrane treatment is a safeguard to PFAS constituents. So
we talk about PFAS as sort of two really sort of obvious examples, but there are a plethora of other ones out there that are probably equally dangerous, but don't yet have EPA standards for. Are we aware of those? Are we trying to monitor where we are?
So what we do is we look for the 42, I think, constituents, the analytes that are on EPA's radar. So we go above and beyond. We're not just looking at a couple of constituents. The new drinking water standards do include, I think, 6 altogether. So we're obviously looking to meet those regulations.
Okay. I asked the sort of the previous question about reuse water and whether there are standards for reuse water that are comparable to potable water.
Yes, and to answer your question, at this moment, we are meeting advanced treatment standards that are stipulated by DEP, and those are for water quality purposes, waters that get into the waters of the state, waters that go to groundwater, and we are meeting the 3 parts per million for total nitrogen and the 1 part per trillion or million for total phosphorus. So we are meeting those standards at this time.
Okay, and do you think the capacity for that will change, or are we at our limits for the amount of reuse water that we can supply at those higher standards?
So with that in mind, with an expanding wastewater system, because we're bringing on more septic tanks into central sewer, we are reviewing, we actually have a part of our CIP, we have an advanced treatment pilot that is scheduled for next year. We're also looking at and evaluating our wastewater treatment systems to determine additional treatment that would be an alternative to that. So yes, we've got our eye on the ball to make sure that we continue to meet those standards.
Appreciate it.
If you tested, what did you say on phosphorus and nitrogen on on our wastewater?
Those two components, yes.
Yeah, both.
What was the number?
3 and 1.
Rainwater doesn't meet that.
Depends on whether it's thunder and lightning.
Madam Chair, if I can interrupt, not to be disrespectful, but we're on this comp plan amendment, and I feel like we're getting way off subject of the details of what this amendment is encompassing. So if we can, since we're a public hearing on this amendment, we kind of need to stick to that to some degree.
So let's keep going on. Thank you, Ms. Samantha. Please continue.
Okay, now we're into section 11.4B, and this is section that's been rearranged somewhat because of existing conditions. Like Martin Downs, a lot of conditions have changed in there. Would you like to elaborate?
Sure, this is just, essentially, it's a forecast of what we're doing to meet demands in the future. This is always a moving target for us. We evaluate through our master planning exercises to determine how we're going to meet demands in the future, and from time to time, things change. So this really presents an update to how we're going to meet those demands.
Understood? Okay, continue.
And all of this is included with what she was just saying. And this, again, changes the planning period
Or Satcho?
from 5 and 10 to 10 and 20 in compliance with statute. I don't believe there's, again, the parcel number for the 9.5 acres. We are amending figure 11.1 and 11.2 because of changing conditions. For instance, this little section here is now included in the service district, and this is not an updated freestanding urban service district. We did amendments to that, I think you'll recall, 8 months ago, a year. And so this updates that to include here in this updated shape. And the same thing with 11.2. So you just have these revisions on there.
Understood?
And that is the chapter.
All right,
If
gentlemen.
you have any other questions.
Me?
I'd move for staff's recommendation for approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Passes? All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for answering my questions.
My pleasure.
She's gonna stay. Forgot Miss Anne Murray again. All right.
This will be a short one.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, this will be very short.
Welcome to this LPA. All right, NPH-4 Comprehensive Plan Amendment 24-12, Solid and Hazardous Waste. So Miss Lovelady and Miss Ann.
This is very general. It's updated references to the Village of Indiantown, updated dates, terms, and statistics, and there's no changes to the goals, objectives, or policies. So this is a cleanup to acknowledge the Village of Indiantown. Again, cleanup. This is updating from 2008 to 2022.
There's a big jump in the tons of waste. Is that because we're
That's how much are being transferred to the transfer station.
okay?
So from 2008 to 2022, it makes sense when you think of the population changes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's not a huge jump. Sorry, not discrediting your
Okay.
comment.
Do you have anything to say about this?
I think
I got-
we've all reviewed this, hopefully, as you guys get the agenda. I think we could go ahead and make a motion to,
Okay, because some of these are just, I mean, they're
Understood.
incidental changes.
have any outstanding questions?
Help me.
I do have a question because it came up a couple times. We recommend incineration as a potential. When have we ever incinerated?
I don't think we ever have.
Okay.
That's not in this one.
Yeah, it is.
Where?
There's a couple of lines down.
Okay.
We
Samantha,
were
please
recommending
scroll down.
looking at incinerating. And if, I think it was for energy production, that would be one thing, but
Oh, I see. Yep.
I don't think we did.
No.
And that's just to reduce the tonnage being incinerated. So let's see if there's any other one. That's,
I think that it's just general
okay, it's just.
language, but
just
not a
word. I was just,
direction.
it jumped out at me when I was reading it, and it jumped out at me again when you were.
yeah, I've not heard of anything since I've worked here.
No.
Is that something you want to strike? Make a motion for it?
It's inconsequential unless we have a proposal, and then it becomes consequential.
Well, I mean, how they're incinerating is also,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it was a plasma incinerator that
gonna
was
say,
producing
it's-
energy,
it's-
then I'd be all in favor of it.
Yeah.
And if we want to
Might as
look
well.
at that as an alternative, I'm all in favor of it. But if we're talking about as an alternative to landfill or shipping it to Okeechobee, I'm not in favor.
We're way past that in time, I think.
I think so, too. I think it's a very general statement.
Okay.
can we get a motion to pass the staff's recommendation?
I'd move for staff's recommendation for approval of this to the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay.
I will second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We are moving on, ladies, you can stay. We are moving on to NPH-5 Comprehensive Plan Amendment 24-13 Drainage and Natural Groundwater Aquifer Recharge Element.
I want to start with.
All right, again, for the record, Samantha Lovelady and Anne Murray. And the staff report in this looks to be quite intensive, but overall, it's updates for statute, updates for the BMAP and TMDL programs, Florida Administrative Code, and then also we put in things related to resiliency and sea level rise, which are also related to state statute. And although looks like a lot of changes, there's really,
Probably the language, really.
it is. It's
It's
just,
just updates to
But
make sure that we have.
One of the things that
elements and-
concerned me about the resiliency language is that it talks about sea level rise, but it really doesn't reference saltwater intrusion. And in some of the ecosystems, that is as important as the sea level rise. And it would cost a sentence more to include it, and I think it would be more inclusive if it was there.
Saltwater intrusion should be covered in.
In potable water as well, but,
Right, so
and it
it's-
is mentioned, but when we're talking about stormwater and sea level rise, saltwater intrusion into those marshes is an issue.
But I don't,
I also think that in some areas where we have clear-cut the vegetative coverage, we're having some pretty serious sediment problems as well as water uptake problems, and it does help evapotranspiration to have those tree covers there. And when we lose that as a policy, we're not doing ourselves any favors.
I do believe it's covered under groundwater protection, under sediment. There's sediment policy, and I'm not.
Didn't see it. I
It
mean,
may not be in this particular chapter,
it's not
Okay.
here.
but in Chapter 11, I think we have extensive policies that cover that.
another
and it
question
is
I have.
acknowledged right here.
Excessive this is on the bottom of the river, though. It's already happened. And I think that, there is language in there that talks about the dredging during the IRL South proposal being environmentally sensitive, but I think it's worth doubling down on that turbidity is a big issue. And we can't forget it, that, if we start dredging, it could be a real nightmare.
Well, not that it's my field, but I am aware we have extensive turbidity monitoring program.
So, yep, that would not be part of this particular amendment?
Well,
Right,
it has to do, it is actually in this. The whole proposal for the IRL South is part of this one. Also, you mentioned green infrastructure. When the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Board was providing the workshops or the listening sessions, the most common request from the community was to increase low-impact development and green infrastructure. It's mentioned twice in here as an alternative. It can work in connection with stormwater facilities and stormwater planning. I also think that it's probably a good idea to cover ourselves, because the modeling that we're using for the amount of rain that we're receiving these days is 30 years old. And it needs to be updated. And just because South Florida Water Management District hasn't done it yet doesn't mean that we don't have to accommodate it. And, we're just adopting a 7-year-old stormwater rule. We really have to be proactive about this, because we are in the beginning of a very dramatic change, in my opinion, of how much water we're going to have to deal with, and we're growing.
To my knowledge, the resiliency planning that's been done is very much up-to-date information
From,
from the work
From a-
that's been done here in Martin County.
right.
Yes.
Well, most of it's about sea level rise. Very little of it is about the heat, the rain, and the other things that we're going to have to accommodate.
I believe that, that resiliency plan covers all of those areas.
And that was reviewed on the coastal element, I believe.
Some of my comments were also in the coastal element.
Right. And just as a reminder, we're really only updating these chapters to comply with state statute. I understand, but we can't,
Problem
we,
here, right?
as pa-
We're trying to do the EAR so that we can amend our comp plan so that it's the best comp plan possible. If our standard is only to meet the state standards, then that's a shame. I'm not trying to be disagreeable, I'm really
No, I
not.
understand, and I'm not either, but that's the mission of these amendments. That's really what we're limited to. And if there's other studies that need to take place or anything like that, we can take a look at these chapters later, if the board wanted to initiate anything. But we're sticking with mandatory changes at this point.
And I think a lot of this is by reference because things change. And if we are very specific in some of the aspects of that planning and reporting, then amendments would have to occur. By reference, we have a much more robust tool to make sure that we're keeping up with the latest needs and actions that the county needs to take.
Any other questions? I have something to add, but, so when it comes to South Florida water management, and I understand where staff's coming from, you are, in any development, regardless of being Martin County, whatever it is, you are limited on what they can and what they require for you to do. And I get where you're coming from. Just know that pushing that limit's going to take beyond this board here to make those changes. So that's my 2 cents in that, maybe 5 cents worth, but any other comments? Okay. Motion? Okay. I
I'll
can't-
second it.
Okay.
I'd like to see some increased language about resiliency in here.
Are you making a motion to amend the motion?
No, I will support it because I want to move it forward, but I really would like staff to put in as much information as we can so that we can be flexible.
Just know that, as I mentioned, they have state limitations when it comes to,
But that's really up to the applicant to challenge.
they can, and the limitations on that are quite restrict. Not denying that, so, all right, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Motion passes. And that concludes our meeting, I would think. Any additional public comments, sir? I don't have anything else from you. Okay. Members, staff?
We've got a meeting next week as well.
19th, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Everyone going to be here?
It will be, I think.
Okay.
No.
Is it a busy meeting?
Don't ask that question. Now you jinxed it. Now you jinxed it. It's
have
totally
several-
jinxed.
several
Don't do
items.
that. Don't ask if it's,
Do we have comp plan amendments as well?
Yes, sir. And an
yeah, look
LPR.
for the QJs showing up. Gentlemen, any other additional comments? No? Staff, anything else you need to add?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you, public, for coming. Get rid of your UF hat. Meeting adjourned. Or